Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hi everyone, I'm Laskita Binatantra from 9 SKS and my attendance list is on number 13. So, today's category is about Civics Material Review, which mostly talks about Indonesia's history to achieve great implementation of the sovereignty. First of all, I will try to define what sovereignty exactly is, then review all the materials. So basically, sovereignty is the highest power held by in a nation. And so, Indonesia choose to implement the people's sovereignty. Now let's move on to the history of Indonesia. So, Indonesia's history refers to their implementation of the people's sovereignty, which makes a connection to the democracies that Indonesia has used in the past, since it shows how Indonesian politicians would do politics while implementing the people's sovereignty. Okay, the first democracy to ever implement it is the presidential democracy. Now, this democracy was changed into parliamentary democracy because the name sounded like the president have the highest power held by him, which is not true. So on, parliamentary democracy is the era where prime ministers can finally take an action to politics. Although in that era, Indonesia has declared their independence, but their former colonizer, the Dutch, could not admit the fact that Indonesia is a new free nation. So on, the Dutch said that they would admit Indonesia's independence if only Indonesia would become a serikat or union country and change their name into RIS. The president that time agreed to become RIS because Indonesia still needed other countries' approval to their independence. But the people refused to become RIS and used the UUD RIS. So, the president decided to make an institute called Constituante, which have tasks to take votes from the people, whether they want to go back to UUD 1945 or UUD RIS. Since Constituante was taking too long to take votes from the people, the president then decided to declare a decree, and that decree is called the presidential decree, meaning an announcement coming directly from the president. There, it states that Indonesia would go back to UUD 1945 and the democracy would change again into guided democracy. Here, a lot of deviations were done by the president, including the presidential decree that states that presidents should have their positions lifelong, which violates their constitution, and the president's acceptance to PKI party, which is a communist party, also violates to their constitution and their base of the nation, and a lot more deviations. As you can see here, the situations had become way worse than before. Now, they decided to change their democracy due to the president who is also changing. Here comes the Pancasila democracy, which were the start of the new president. But unfortunately, this democracy was the rise of corruption, collusion, and nepotism. So on, they decided to change it again into Reformation democracy, which were implemented until presently days. So, we can conclude that the implementation of the people's sovereignty has failed several times in the past.